today's topic of the lecture is journalizing. Journalizing includes journal also, journal entry also, and the journalizing. Journalizing is the process of recording journal entry in the books of journal. Then what we mean by the journal? Journal, we can say it is a bad record, or it is a book of original entry, or it is a book of entry in which we record the journal entries in the form of debit and credit. Or we can explain it as journal is a book in which we record the journal entries in a chronological order in the form of debit and credit to prepare the financial statements. Journal have a proper format. The method or the process through which we record the entries in the journal is known as the journalizing process. And the entry that we record in journal in the form of debit and credit is known as journal entry. So this is all about what we mean by journal, what we mean by journalizing, and what we mean by journal entry. Now I show you the format in which we record the entries in the books of journal. Now this is the format that we prepare for the journal. As we explained earlier also, that accounting is a proper systematic way of recording the accounts or the entries in the books of accounts to prepare the financial statements. Because accounting is for the users. There were the various particular parties that are associated with the business who require the financial report of the business for their particular decisions. As there were the investors, there were the creditors, there were the suppliers, there were the employees, there was government, tax authorities, public, society, various individuals who are interested in the financial statements of the business. Because as they all are interested in the financial statement of the business, so it is very necessary for the business to record each and every entry in the proper format, so that they can easily understand the recording and entries of the business concern. So journal is a format, or journal is a book in which we record all the entries of the business concern in a proper systematic manner, so that we can easily prepare all the financial statements. Now the format that we make for journal entries or to record the journal entries in the journal book is contained of 5 columns. First column that is belongs to date column, second one is particulars column, third one is LF, that is ledger folio, fourth is debit, and fifth one is credit. Now in first column, that is a date column. In date column, we enter the date on which transaction has been occurred. We make the journal entries or we record the journal in the books for the particular time period for which we are making the accounting statements. For example, if I am making the accounting statement for the year 2024, that is from 1st April 2023 to 21st March 2024, then all the entries that have been incurred in this period we record in the books of journal of that particular time period. So date will be from that time period only. Date means the date should be of that transaction, the transaction that have been incurred in this particular time period. So we record the entries in the journal books with the date on which it has been incurred or occurred. So date of the transaction is entered in the first column. Date is entered only once unless and until they will change the date of the transaction. It should be entered in a proper sequence. Means all the entries that we record in the journal book should be in the proper sequence. If the date occurred first, that entry should be recorded first. If the date occurred last, that entry will be recorded at the last. Means entry should be according to the dates. Second column, that is particulars. Each business transaction that we record in the journal in the form of the debit and credit will be recorded in this particular column, that is debit, particulars. Now there is a proper format of recording the entry in this particular column. In every transaction there will be 2 accounts, 2 or 3 accounts. Every debit will be equal to the credit, that I have told earlier also. That is general entry, all the entries that we record record in the journal should have the equal debit and credit. All the debits will have the credit. So in all the journal entries, there can be 2 accounts, there can be 3 accounts, or there can be 4 accounts. But there will be a debit column also, and there will be the credit account also. So these both accounts, debit and credit, will be recorded in the column of particulars. We record the entry in this particular column in the form of debit and credit. Debit account will come first and credit account will come next. For example, if I have the entry of cash account to capital account. So cash account, if cash account is debit, then cash account will come first and capital account is credit. So capital account will come next to cash account. So entry will be recorded as cash account debit and this credit column will be shown by 2. Means the account that we will credit will be shown by 2. If capital account we are crediting it, then we will write it as the 2 capital account. So the account that we are debiting will be shown as cash account debit and the account that we are crediting will be shown as 2 capital account. Third column will be ledger folio. Ledger folio means this entry will be recorded in particular ledger. This entry will be the particular ledger, means the entry that I record in my journal entry will be posted and next time in another ledger. In which ledger I have posted my entry, that number will come under ledger folio. At the time of the recording of the journal entry, you can't give this number to ledger folio. At that time, this ledger folio becomes blank. All journal entries are posted later into ledger account. The page number or folio number of the ledger is recorded in the LF column of the journal. Till then the column remains blank. Till you posted the entry in the ledger, till then this column will remain blank. As you recorded the entry in the ledger, then you simply post the number in front of the entry so that it becomes easy to find out that all the entries have been posted in the ledger or not, and where my entries are there who have posted in the ledger. So it is very easy to find out, or if anybody wants to do the audit or anyone who wants to check my accounts, he or she can easily or very conveniently can check my accounts by these numbers. Next column we have debit and credit. The amount or the account that we debit means, as I have told you, the entry of cash account debit to capital account. So the account that has debit, cash account has debit. The amount of debit column will come in debit side and the amount of credit account will be coming credit side. Means these two are the amount columns. Amount debit, amount credit. All the accounts that you debit, the amount of all the accounts will come in the debit side. And amount of all the accounts that you credited in the journal entry will come credit side. And at the end of all the journal entries, these two columns should be equal. The debit will always be equal to the credit in all the entries. Means all the accounts that you debit, the amount of all the accounts will come on debit side and the amount of all the accounts that you have credited will come in the credit side. And in the last, this debit should be equal to the credit, means all the amount of the debit should be equal to the credit side. I think it's become clear that the format of the journal entries contains 5 columns. First column is date column, another column is particulars, third column is ledger folio, fourth column is debit and fifth column is credit. In date column we enter the date, in particulars column we enter the entry, in ledger folio column we enter the number at which number this entry has been posted in the ledger. Whether it is a book, whether it is a page number or whether it is a folio number. Debit means the account that you debit in the journal entry, the amount of that account will become in debit side and the amount of the account that you have credited will come in the credit side. So in this way, this entry will be recorded in the journal entry. After journal entries, we will do the posting of the journal entries in the ledger folio. Because it is very difficult for the individual to check or to know, there was so much of the journal entries in the accounting books. So how I can remember it is very difficult for me to summarize the journal entries and to make any of the financial report on the general entries. So we prepare the accounts, we prepare the separate accounts for all the general entries, and then we record the similar types of account of entries in the particular one account, so that it becomes very easy to identify that if I want the purchase entries, it will be in one book, that if I want the sales entry, it will be in the one book, if I want to have the cash entries, it will be in the one book. So it becomes very easy for me to identify or to check out or to record the entries or to know about the entries, that which entry is in which book. So we can make the different journals according to the accounts, or we can make the different accounts, or we make the journal entry in that accounts also. It is according to the convenience of the owner or the person who is recording the entries. Now, what is the proper steps that we used in the process of generalizing? From where we start? First of all, just read which entry you have to record. Then try to identify which accounts are involved in this entry. As I have discussed in accounting equation also, as the entry comes to your side, just identify which accounts are involved in this particular entry. Then, just for example, Ramesh is starting business for rupees 20,000. Now Ramesh is starting the business, I have to make the accounts of business. Now in the business is going to be started from the cash of rupees 20,000. So business is receiving cash of rupees 20,000, and this cash is coming from Ramesh. Ramesh is the owner of the business, so Ramesh amount will be considered as the capital. So two accounts are there involved in this entry. First one is Ramesh. Ramesh is capital account, and another one is cash account. Now, after reading this transaction and after knowing which accounts are involved in the transaction, try to identify these accounts will come under which head. Means whether they come in personal, whether they come in real, or whether they come in nominal. As I have told these accounts, cash account and capital account, this cash account is an asset account, and asset account comes under the real account. So this asset is a real account, and another one is capital account, and capital account comes under the representative personal account. So first step I have done, I have identified my accounts, that which accounts are involved in this particular transaction, and second step is I have to identify these accounts will come under which nature of account, whether they are personal, whether they are real, or whether they are nominal. Now recall the rules. The rule of personal account is debit the receiver, credit the giver. Rule of real account is debit what comes in, credit what goes out. And rule of nominal account is debit all expenses, credit all incomes. Now I have two accounts, cash account and capital account. This cash account is real account, and the rule of real account is debit what comes in, credit what goes out. Now in business, when our business has been started by Ramesh, so Ramesh is giving money to the business. So business is receiving cash, means cash is an asset, and asset is coming to the business. So debit what comes in? I have told you cash will come under the real account, and the rule of real account is debit what comes in, credit what goes out. So cash is coming to the business. Then cash is coming to the business. This cash will become debit. Cash account debit. But this cash is given by the owner, and owner will come under the personal account. Personal account rule is debit the receiver, credit the giver. Means if business is receiving from someone, or business is giving to someone, and someone is receiving from the business, then that person will become debit. And if someone is giving to the business, that person will become credit. Now this particular amount is given by the Ramesh. So Ramesh should be credit. But I have told in the accounting books, the name of the owner will not come in accounting books. The owner name will be represented by the capital. If owner is depositing the amount in the business, it will be shown as capital. And if the owner is withdrawing any amount for their personal use, then it will be shown as drawings. Name will not So giver is Ramesh. Ramesh should be credited, but Ramesh's name will not come in the accounting books. It will be shown through the capital account. Therefore, capital account will become credit. So entry will be cash account debit, and the amount that the account that you credit will be shown by 2. So cash account debit and 2 capital account. Entry will become cash account debit to capital account. So my first step is I have identified the account and I got my entries. Second is I have identified the nature of the accounts. Third is I have to link my account with this nature of the account. Then I have to recall the rules. What are the rules that I have applied, and will make the entry. Determines the 2 accounts that involve a transaction. Classify the accounts into asset, liability, capital, expense and income. Apply the rule of debit and credit for the above 2 account. Record the date of transaction, particulars, mention the respective debit and credit amount. Then what you do? After recording the entry in the journal entry. After recording the journal entry, below the journal entry, you will give the narration of every entry. Narration means you have to describe the entry. That, for example, this entry of cash account debit to capital account is for the business start. Then I will make a simple bracket below this entry and will write the narration that Ramesh has started business. Every journal entry should mention it that why I have recorded the journal entry. And that narration will be started from being or for. This is a systematic format of recording the journal entries in the books of the journal. So that narration will be started from the being or for. Just for example, for this particular journal entry, I will write as being business started by Ramesh, or being business started with cash of rupees 20,000 by Ramesh, or for business started by cash of rupees 20,000 by Ramesh. So in this way, I will record the journal entries in the books of the journal. Now, in the end, I will total the amount of debit and credit, and this amount of debit and credit total is known as the casting or recording. When there was a lots of entries and I have to know the amount of whether all the debit and credit is also equal or not. So, at the end of the journal entries, I will make the total and then makes definite that all the entries have been recorded rightly, because the amount of the debit is equal to the amount of the credit. Now, while recording the entries, there were 2 types of transactions when we record the entry. There was the cash transaction and there was the credit transaction. Cash transaction means in the transaction in which the payment of cash has been done at the point of time only and nothing payment left with the person. Credit transaction means credit can be taken by the company also, credit can be given by the company. But in both the case, in the credit means the payment have been left, means payment has to be done further. So there can be the cash transaction and there can be the credit transaction. Now what is the difference between the two? Under the cash transaction is if you record any cash transaction in the accounting books, that will be recorded by the name of the cash only. Means I have purchased the furniture for cash. Then I record the entry with the cash only. Furniture is coming to me, cash is going out from me. Means furniture become debit and cash become credit. Means if the entry or any transaction is doing in terms of cash, then it's in that transaction, cash account will be debit or credit. But if the transaction is of credit terms, means if payment has been left, then in that case, the person whose payment has been left, or to whom we have to do the payment, or from whom we have to receive the payment, that name will become in the accounting books. But that name will not come if the transaction is in terms of cash. Listen again. If the transaction is on cash basis, means no payment is left, or the payment, all the part of the payment that have been done in the way of cash, that will be recorded in terms of cash only, and no other person name will become in the cash transaction. No payment name will come. But if you are recording the entry of credit, then in that case the name of the person will come. The name under cash transaction come only when the transaction have been recorded, means we have paid it further or we have received it further. If the name of the seller or purchaser is mentioned in transaction stating that cash is transacted, then it is accounted as a cash transaction. If the name of the seller or purchaser is mentioned in transaction without stating that cash is transacted, it is counted as a credit transaction. If the transaction related to sale or purchase, the name of the seller or purchaser is not given, it is accounted as a cash transaction. What does this mean? Means if any transaction is given to you and name of the seller and purchaser is there and it is written that it is a cash transaction, that means it is a cash transaction and it will be recorded as a cash transaction. But if the name of the individual is written, any name is written, or seller or purchaser, anybody, but it is not written that it is a cash transaction, then we will consider it as a credit transaction. If no name is there, no name is mentioned that it is a cash, in that case also you will consider it as a cash transaction. But if name is there and it is not written that it is a cash transaction, in that case, that transaction will be considered as the credit transaction. If the name of the seller or purchaser is mentioned in a transaction without stating that cash is transacted, it is accounted as a credit transaction. But if the transaction related to sale or purchase, the name of the seller or purchaser is not given, it is accounted as a cash transaction. This is very, very important to understand because students do this types of mistake and they are able to identify whether the record is entry in the cash or whether the record is entry as a credit. Because under cash entry, name of the seller or purchaser will not come. But under credit entry, the name of the seller and purchaser will come. So it is very important to identify, it is very important to understand that what is the cash, when the entry will be considered as a cash and when the entry will be considered as a credit. So entry will be considered as cash when the name of the owner or seller or purchaser is given but the entry is taken as a cash, or name of the seller or purchaser is not there but entry also don't mention that it is a credit transaction. In both the cases you will consider the transaction as the cash transaction. But if name is there and cash is not stated, in that case also you will consider it